Hey there, it's been a little while. This is Just Press Pause, and I'm Andrew Kozak. Life's been a little busy lately, so yeah, it's been like a couple of weeks since the last episode. But good busy though, which is a great thing right now during the continued pandemic that we're in. If you're listening on the apps, Stitcher, Spotify, Deezer, iTunes, remember to subscribe to Just Press Pause. And if you're watching on YouTube, the video will begin with my guest here in a sec. Don't forget to subscribe at youtube.com/Andrew Kozak TV. Hey, I'm back with full episodes again a little bit more often, so thanks for sticking around. Already have episode 13 in the works and really excited about this. It's an interview with the lead of Jefferson Starship. Yeah, the band that originated before Woodstock as Jefferson Airplane that eventually morphed into Starship. We built this city, Sarah, nothing's gonna stop us now, you guys know that. It's still around with some original members, some newer ones, and a brand new album. If you're a music history geek, definitely stay tuned for that. Okay, so today's guest on Just Press Pause is from my hometown of Staten Island. Comedian and YouTube star Eric D'Alessandro, who has been on the comedy circuit for years now after making viral videos, and he does still do that, and getting discovered. He's out in LA, riding out the pandemic. Eric and I talked about all things Staten Island, being out in LA, and what it's like when making your living is nearly impossible during COVID-19. This is Just Press Pause.
You're listening to the Just Press Pause podcast with Andrew Kozak.
When I first came out to LA, I worked at as a video editor. That's how I made my money. And I did these filthy rich people in Beverly Hills. I was at a couple of their weddings, and I've always just questioned things that my friends and peers, I guess, didn't. And like it started when I would make fun of Sweet 16s when I was a teenager, because I would ask like, well, why are you guys having these parties? And no one could answer that. It was just like, we just want to. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not really a reason, but okay. And then as I got older, people just did what other people did. And no one really asked, why am I doing this? Or should I ask people to spend this much money on my bridal shower? And my friend is struggling with money, and now she has to throw me 6 parties because I'm getting married. And all of this stuff that we do as a society and no one ever questions, I just got frustrated. Also, my siblings, all 3 of them got married in 1 calendar year. Well, 13 months, but I was in basically all those weddings, and it was just nonstop talk of venues and la, 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 la. And I was just like, oh my God, like love is gone. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with a union. Yeah. It's all about party, pictures, money, and it has nothing to do with like the fairy tale. It's all a big sham. So like, I just wanted to poke fun at the people who worship the wrong things in life, really.
I mean, obviously you got this bug of being able to be funny, but I kind of feel like if you didn't grow up in Staten Island, you'd have to try to find some other type of material, because it's just, listen, I worked at the Hilton Garden Inn during college. And I've probably attended, I want to say, and the old Bermuda Inn too, when I was in high school as a busboy. I want to say I probably attended hundreds of weddings, and I've seen the bride scream at the groom with a cigarette in her hand, telling him to shut the F up because she was opening up her gift, in the birdcage, opening up her money. I one time was told, get me a beer, kid. And it was the groom, as him and his wife were sitting at the bar, reception not even over yet, and they're counting the money and they're making a list. And I feel like that could happen in many places, but it's only, to me, going to happen in Staten Island.
So yeah, I've thought of that for sure. And Staten Island plays a huge role in my comedy, but I think no matter where I was from, let's say I was from Cleveland, I would definitely probably feel like an outsider in Cleveland. I feel like I would probably make fun of quote unquote Cleveland things or whatever, because that's just what people like me do. I've never felt like one of them or whatever, right. I always say that I was a little too cool to hang out with the nerdy kids, a little too nerdy to hang out with the cool kids. So I was kind of this weird in between where like I never really felt like I had a true place in society. I still feel that way with New York and LA. But yeah, I think you write about what you know in your environment and stuff like that. And a lot of my material now is about LA because I live in LA and stuff like that. But Staten Island is just, it's its own planet. And
it really
I really
is.
wish if I get like this, I was telling my girlfriend one night, I'm like, if I could make a documentary about this place, I think everyone in the world would be fascinated by it because it really is an island. It's an actual island separated from the rest of society. It's a strange, interesting, beautifully horrific place.
That's probably the best way I've ever heard it described. Beautifully horrific. The first time I ever brought my girlfriend back there years ago at the time, and we went to a restaurant, and Patricia is of Staten Island. I don't know if, or Patricia is of Brooklyn, and
Yep.
it's down there on Amboy Road. And she goes, "Why is everybody yelling? Why is everybody angry?" I'm like, "Well, they're yelling, yeah, but they're not necessarily angry. That's just how
Yeah.
they talk." And
Yeah.
it's a different place. But how is it now when you're out in LA? It's kind of like one extreme to the other.
I think it's interesting. People compare New York to LA a lot. And Staten Island is actually way more similar to LA because you need a car to get around. There's not a lot of public transportation. There's suburbs connected to these really like main vein streets like Sunset, Santa Monica, Hollywood Boulevard, and stuff like that, and the highways and stuff. It's very much like set up like a New Jersey or Staten Island or something like that. It's not at all like Manhattan, and it's also just interesting. Like the characters you see of there's always going to be people on the street making you laugh for just doing crazy stuff. I've seen that in the subway in Manhattan my whole life, but then out here there's just like the volume is turned to like 100, to whereas in New York City it might be like 10, and here it's just like my favorite thing is my girlfriend and I, we were walking one day outside of a 7-Eleven or I'm sorry, Trader Joe's. There was a guy, he had like a hat, he was asking for money, he was playing the guitar, but the guitar had 2 strings and he didn't know how to play the guitar. He was just it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I was just like, that is the most like LA thing,
Right.
because like
Yeah.
in New York the guy would either not have a guitar or he would be really good at the guitar.
Right.
It wouldn't be this weird thing of like, oh, people play it. He had no idea how to play it, and you just see like this, because I guess people come here to be stars, and they from some town, and then maybe they have mental illness or some sad thing happens, but it's just it's a fascinating place for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and it feel like too you could stay in New York because New York and LA are the two entertainment hubs of the country. What made you want to go out to LA? Because there is obviously a huge stand up circuit in New York. Was it more opportunity for you, or once you got discovered, did you feel like it would just be better for you to head out to the West Coast?
So it's a couple of things. The first thing is I've been working with a management and agency that was in LA, and I was sending them tapes, and a part of me always wanted to I've always been in love with California. I've been coming here my whole life, and I just, a dream as a little boy, palm trees and Hollywood. You just always dream of like being there where the action is. And then another part, it's like you said, Staten Island is very different from New York City. And so it was, technically 5 miles by water, which is, I made like a documentary, like mockumentary film. I made like an 1.5-hour movie on YouTube. It's called 5 Miles from the Spotlight. And it's like, we're 5 miles by water, but it might as well be 5,000 miles,
Right.
because it's so far. You don't really feel that much similarity you have to go to Manhattan, and to get there is such a pain in the butt. And for me, it was also like getting away from my family and friends and really being on my own. And I got to a point in my life where I'm like, I don't know what's next. I'm not that young anymore. It's really just like, it's the next 2 to 3 years is really gonna, it's gonna like define who I am. So I just remember just was like, I'm doing it. I'm leaving. I'm gonna just go out there and see what happens. And it's funny because I don't think that like being here, it wasn't necessarily LA. It was just moving away from home for me and
Yeah.
just being on my own.
If you can get away from your hometown, even for a little bit, I always feel like it opens up your world a little bit. And then sometimes I come back to Staten Island. I have friends that never left. And I'm not digging on Staten Island at all, but it's just sort of like, if you don't leave your little bubble, really doesn't matter where you're from. You're never really going to experience other things. So yeah, I really,
Absolutely.
I totally see where you're, why you would have done that. And especially for your career, to go to a place. It's not like you moved, to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. You went to where you needed to go. So that's,
Yeah.
that's, but it takes a lot of courage to do that, because, I'm assuming too, you grew up in Staten Island. Your parents probably grew up at least in Staten Island or Brooklyn. I mean, you're probably one of the first to
Brooklyn.
leave. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Again, I love Staten Island. I'm proud to be from there. I'm always trying to speak out for the, let's say it's 20% or maybe it's lower, I don't know, but of more artists or open mind thinkers or people who do things that are quote unquote weird for Staten Island. So like
Hmm.
I'm always trying to open the minds of other people to see it differently. Um, and you know, we were speaking before we started about being from the North Shore of Staten Island is very different than being from the South Shore of Staten
Yeah.
Island. And I've always felt the disconnect. But people leaving, it just isn't a thing. And you meet, I meet people here every single day who are not from LA. And leaving your hometown in most of American cities is kind of a thing you do. You move away. You know, hey, what's your hometown? You hear that a lot. And people from where we're from, it's just, what do you mean hometown? My hometown is this where I am now. It's
Right.
always gonna. It's my home. It's my hometown. It's my vacation town. It's everything.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's a weird. You know, and I'm considered weird for leaving or doing anything that's
Hmm.
not normal or whatever. And I don't come back with this attitude of like I'm better than anybody.
No.
I just think it's good to, you know, look outside what else is going on because and again I like going on vacations in other places like I love Utah. I love my girlfriend and I love going like road trips to like places in America we've never been, and everyone wants to just go to Florida, go to the beach and come home. Like nobody ever wants to explore. They just want to do
Right.
the same thing: beach, margarita, come back burnt, and they don't
Yep.
want to explore anything else. They don't want to wake up early and go on a hike. They don't want to ride quads. They just want to, you know, fall
Yeah.
asleep on a beach. And it's
We
just
were
like,
we
you
were
know,
talking about Wyoming because I lived in Wyoming, and you were talking about how how beautiful Yellowstone, and you were up in Buffalo. I honestly I don't think I knew anybody from home ever that had gone to Wyoming for any reason at all until I had gone
dude,
there.
I went to Utah in 2017 for the first time. Everyone we told, they were like, why are you going to Utah?
It's one of the most
And I
beautiful
was like,
states
have you
out there.
seen, it is the most beautiful
Yeah.
state by far. In my opinion, it looks like Mars. It's the most gorgeous,
Yeah.
absolutely breathtaking place. And for you to ask why I want to go there is the strangest thing
Right.
you could ever ask me. Because like, why would you not want to go there? You know, it's just
My job took me to Wichita, Kansas for 4.5 years, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Memphis, Tennessee. Maybe these
awesome.
are not places I would have ever gone to had I stayed and gotten a job, 9 to 5 in New York. But man, I'm glad I went. I'm glad I went. I made some of the best friends of my
Hell yeah,
life, people in my wedding. I mean, it was fantastic. And you don't, I mean, just to experience it. And I think that, and it's not, and again, it's not about even Staten Island, because there's people in every city I've ever lived in that just don't want to leave
absolutely.
their comfort zone. And I
Oh
really
yeah.
think
I
you
mean, yeah,
absolutely should.
exactly. Yeah, it's definitely not connected to Staten Island anyway. I mean, there's this funny this like meme I saw that was like, "Hey, the kid from your hometown, I never left, and I think Olive Garden is fancy. Anyway, here's
Yeah,
a racist article or
I've
something."
seen that. I've seen that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you this: how does your brand of humor, especially when you talk about Staten Island, do you talk about Staten Island and do your Staten Island girl voice, which is hilarious, or just your Staten Island voice? Do you do that in every show, especially when you're in the middle of the country? Do people get it?
No, no, I don't. I lean way heavier when I gotta give each audience what they want.
Mhm.
When I do shows in the East Coast, they do want me to do that. But no, I wouldn't do that in, you know, in Detroit
Right.
or Atlanta or something like that, Boston. Again, comedy is very, very easy. People act like you have to. What I'm saying is not really that specific. It's kind of like I had I was on I did another interview a couple weeks ago, and basically it was kind of a similar question. And it's like, I love Aziz Ansari, I love Ellen DeGeneres, I love Margaret Cho. I'm not a lesbian. I'm not a Indian man in America. I'm not an Asian American woman. But
Hmm.
I love their comedy because they gave me the setup and they
Right.
gave me the punchline. That's all you need to know. I don't need to be you. I don't need to live your life. But you got to tell me. You know, Margaret Cho talks about how stuff with her parents. Aziz Ansari talks about his parents. Ellen talks about things we all go through. So it's like, as long as you give them the background information, it's very, very simple. You know, like I talk
Hmm.
about my dad's upbringing and when he's from Brooklyn versus
Hmm.
the way the kids are raised in LA, and it's vastly different. And anybody from anywhere can kind of connect with that.
Yeah. So you bring it all around, and of course, when you go back to the East Coast, when you do shows, I noticed you do a lot of shows. I was looking at your past shows, a lot of it St. George Theater. You've done it in Staten Island. Then you're going to bring your Staten Island stuff because that's what people want to hear.
Yeah, it's always going to be in there, of course. But I'm also like, I'm also like your favorite band that you wish they would just play their old stuff, and all they want to do is play new stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. That's
Yeah.
it works that way too. That
So you
makes
had an
sense.
opportunity to be in a movie in 2016, Nerve. Let's talk about how
Yeah.
that kind of happened and kind of where you want to go from where you are now.
Yeah, it was very, very small. The directors were filming the movie on Staten Island. The main character was supposed to like be at on school in school on Staten
Hmm.
Island, and they saw my videos in the middle of production, and they just were like, "This kid's funny. Let's just bring him to set and let him just like do whatever kind of." And they gave me a couple of lines. A couple of scenes got cut from the movie, unfortunately, but I got to go to the premiere. My girlfriend and I was sitting there. My name scrolled in the credits, so it was very, very cool, very
That's cool.
exciting. I still get checks from that movie being played like on airplanes or whatever. So that was my real first initial thing like in the industry. But yeah, it was fantastic. I'm writing my own feature. Hopefully, I can get that made one day, and that's always been the plan. Um, but yeah, man, this whole Corona thing is just messing a lot of stuff up for
Yeah,
sure.
so I was gonna say I've interviewed comedians. For the first one I ever interviewed, I was just like 20. I want to say I was like 24. I didn't know what I was doing, but the station I was in Wichita, Kansas, and the station sends me calls me up and says, "Hey, you want to do some other stuff besides weather?" I'm like, "Sure." They're like, "Norm Macdonald just landed in town. Why don't you go interview him?"
Whoa.
I'm like, "That's kind of a big guy for me to interview, and I have no skills at all." The guy was, I mean, he was awesome. He actually, I walked into the comedy club and he was sitting on the filthy floor because he was tired and his back hurt from the plane. But we were going on and on, and I'm talking to him, and he's like, he's got the SNL thing behind him at this point. He's got some movies, behind him, and now he's back on the stand-up circuit. And he was just explaining to me how extremely tiring and difficult it actually is, uh, especially
Oh
for
yeah.
especially for people who are just getting started. He was talking about some guy he knew that really had didn't even have a website, but he got picked up at a amateur night, and he's trying to work his way to get some management, and how difficult it is to a even get management, even get representation, and b keep it up. So it's got to be even more difficult now for someone like yourself, who already has kind of the template laid out, to all of a sudden be hit with, oh man, you can't even do this anywhere now.
Yeah. I'm very lucky. Like I kind of skipped a lot of stages. I mean, I'm sure many comedians hate my guts for it, but because of the power of the internet, I was able to sell out shows without doing the real like I don't know grinding it out. And I never like was an MC on a show to introduce other comedians. I
Mhm.
just put up tickets for sale and they sold out. And because I did stand up, I did open mics, I did the kind of nightmare gigs that you have to do. I think people were pleasantly surprised that I actually was like a real deal comedian. I think a
Mhm.
lot of people, because they know me from the internet, they think I'm going to be some hacky, half-assed, not funny person.
Right.
But the best part of my night or whenever this happens is when the opening comedian or the owner of the club or somebody is like, you could tell their attitude changes completely when I get off stage. They're like,
Right.
that was great. Like they're shocked. So I don't know if I had it in me to do the stuff that Norm Macdonald was talking about. I don't
Right.
think I could eat bread as my pay, or
Well, but
not get paid and stuff like this.
to be fair too, you're one of the things I think that impresses me with you is you're awesome at marketing. I mean, with what we do,
Oh,
like,
thank you.
because seriously, like, he didn't have Instagram, Norm Macdonald, back then. All these guys didn't have it. So you've got these tools, and then you're using it. Some people can use them, do okay, but man, the videos you put out, I mean, you keep the content fresh, and I think that kind of helps sell itself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because I'm really an internet kid at heart. That's
Yeah.
really where I got my start. I mean, I've been doing this for a decade. It's not like it's been like a year. People from back home have known me as the kid who did the videos since 2008. Some of them,
Yeah.
So that's really like who I am. I'm very comfortable being an internet person, and a lot of these comedians who are great and they kill it on stage. They do Fallon, they do Conan. Their social media following is nothing because they
Mhm.
feel like that's not really it, or I'm too good for that, or that's what those people do. And it's just it's not really up for debate at this point. It maybe like in 2011 2012 there was like some um conversation, I guess, that like internet versus like quote unquote real actor, real comedian.
Right.
Now the internet is just taking over, man, with the streaming services, and it's kind of like trying to be a vaudeville actor while movies are taking off. It's never going to go backwards. It's just going to keep going forwards.
But I kind of also feel like it's giving people a chance that have real talent to get themselves out there, where they maybe, 10,
Absolutely.
20 years ago, they would never have had a chance. You would have, who knows, you would maybe have to go back and do whatever your second choice was if you never had a chance to get your stuff out there. Yeah. So no, I totally, I'm on board with it at all. And it's like the people that were mad, or not mad, but the people that were, kind of looking like this when American Idol started, like, well, wait a second, this is not as organic as it used to be. Well, now it's kind of like it's the norm, and you're getting great talented people to come off of these shows.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, there's definitely a snobby attitude of people who are used to the way they're used to it. And I was the same way. I always felt like I wasn't going to give YouTube all my attention because I'm people gonna think I'm a YouTuber or whatever. But stand-up was always the way to like kind of get validated as a real artist that you can write and perform. So that was always, I think once I worked on that and I felt like that was strong enough as a foundation, I just really started pushing my Instagram, which is just like, hey man, I'm going to reach way more people this way than 6 people at an open mic. So
yeah. The funny thing is now I look at like TikTok and I'm like, I'm kind of in that attitude a little bit, but that's probably because I'm kind of too old. I feel like I'm old for TikTok, but that's probably
absolutely that's all it is. Yep.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
I mean, don't get me wrong, man. It does kill me when a guy or a girl just winks at the camera, does a body roll, and they get a million followers. I'm like, I'm killing myself over here. Like this is gold, Jerry. This is gold, and they don't get it. But I'm old to these kids now, man. When I'm 30, and when you're 15, a 30-year-old might as well be a 1,000-year-old. Yeah. So it's cool. Let the kids have their thing. Right. I did pretty decent. I do pretty decent on TikTok. I haven't posted in a while, but I kind of got their algorithm a little bit. And I think people my age were starting to go on it. So it's but like I said, but like you said, rather, there's always going to be anything new. People go, well, this isn't real.
Right.
Although what I liked was real.
Right, exactly. Although TikTok's funny because my buddy, he does a radio, and he posted a video of me reacting to the song WAP, and he was like, Weatherman reacts to WAP. And because I hadn't heard it before, but he did all the hashtags. I mean, this thing got thousands of views, and I'm just sitting there going, all right, well, this is 2020's version of when I was a kid or when I was younger, my neck, my back. It's just the same thing.
Yeah.
But then
it's not new to us.
No, it's not new. No, it's updated. It's the same thing. I always do this whenever I have a guest on, they ask a couple questions. They want to know what you think of both Pete Davidson, Colin Jost. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, I think they're great. Pete Davidson. We were years ago. This is when I'm older than him, but I met him at some showcase at something with my previous manager. And then he and I connected through a mutual friend to work on a video that never materialized. But I think he's great. People give him such a hard time because he says real stuff about Staten Island. And I'm like, guys, he might have been a little mean, but he's not saying false stuff. He's saying real stuff. You guys bullied him. Now you just hate that he's super successful, that you're just showing your cards. You know what I mean? I think they hate him. I think they hate him for having the guts to go for it and actually making it.
Yeah.
And I'm just more power to him. I hope he achieves everything he wants to. Colin Jost, he's great too, man. These guys are marrying Scarlett Johansson. These guys are they're raising the bar.
His father was my teacher in high school. And
my brother too.
And your brother
had him as his dad as a teacher. Yeah.
And I remember him from the Great Hill Swim Club because we used to join that. And Colin was.
He made a movie about that. Did you watch?
Yes. That? I forgot what it was called, but it was 2 summers ago.
Staten Island Summer.
Staten Island Summer. That's right. I just watched King of Staten Island. I want to say 3 weeks ago. I ordered it, and I got to tell you, I thought it was great. I didn't know what to expect, but it was he did a really good.
It's Judd Apatow. Yeah. It's Bill Burr. I mean, Marissa Tomei. How could it not be good?
No, it was fantastic.
I was so excited to watch it. Yeah. It was. He filmed it all in my neighborhood. There's a part where Bill Burr is walking down the street with his daughter, one of them. And I'm like, that's literally down the block from my house. So it was very cool, very exciting. I have no beef at all. I'm not a jealous person. More power to everybody, man. People ask me that, like I'm gonna be like, screw that kid, and it's like, why? For
No, and I
achieving his
think,
dream, like,
and I was talking to the person that asked me about it. I think it was also just to because both of them, stepping back and being so observant about Staten Island that you are. I think it was more about both of them are so polar opposite. It's so funny, how they're both from Staten Island, and neither of them really even fit into when you'd say, "Hey, what's a typical Staten Islander like?" It's kind of like neither of them really fit that mold.
oh yeah. You could tell Colin Jost didn't spend much time on Staten Island.
No.
He probably went to school like somewhere else. He doesn't have any hint of an accent. I don't know where the hell that kid grew up,
No.
but yeah, no, I know they're very. But it's funny that they are interesting people because they are from there. I think
Yeah.
people. I think it makes them more interesting, in my opinion. I think if they were from, like you said, Wichita,
Right.
it would be like, all right, but it wouldn't be as like, what the hell goes on that island?
Right, exactly. No, I totally agree. So what are you going to do as we wrap this up? What are you going to do kind of looking forward? Are you planning hopefully to get some shows back on the road? Are you planning to do more I mean, you're always going to do internet stuff, but are you planning to try to get back out in it and kind of see where we are with this pandemic?
Yeah, I got a great plan for the next year. It just keeps getting pushed back. I mean, that I have a huge show at the St. George Theater, like you said, back in Staten Island, my hometown. I was super excited. That was supposed to happen in June. Then it was supposed to happen in September. Now it's going to happen in May, God willing.
Wow.
So I have things going on. I have shows. I have rooms waiting. I have all these places. Just like we're all just sitting there looking at our watches, like, can we do it yet? So.
Yeah.
Maybe some of these outside shows I've been seeing, I don't love those. I did a couple Zoom shows. I'll never do those again. That was atrocious.
Why? Tell me what's wrong with a Zoom show? What happens there?
It's just, dude. First of all, a lag of a second can destroy a punchline.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
You can't hear. First of all, they might have even missed the joke because I might have been, the lag or whatever.
Oh, and then you can't hear their laugh, so you can't even play off of the audience.
Some of them I've done where you could either laugh, but like you got to be in a club, in the vibe. You can't be in your house with the TV on, like half listening, and
Right.
like your wife's handing you a protein shake. It has to be like in the moment. So but I'm doing good though, man. I'm excited to get back on the road whenever I can, and I have shows. I have people that are interested, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That that people are still interested. So. We'll see.
Well, definitely appreciate you joining me here, Eric. Eric D'Alessandro. Let's plug your Instagram. I mean, it's so easy to find your stuff, and I'm gonna spell it out for especially to feel like any Staten Islanders watching it, like, oh, D'Alessandro, I know how to write that. But for anybody else, I'll put the website up. Is it just ericdalessandro.com?
Yeah, ericdalessandro.com or at Eric D'Alessandro on everything. Twitter, Instagram, Eric D'Alessandro, Facebook / my name is everything. If you need to find me on an app, just search that. If it doesn't show up, I'm probably not on that app or you're spelling it wrong.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to get that on there. And Eric, again, I appreciate you joining me. Good luck, and we'll look for you on the internet.
Thank you, man.
And look for you on the road. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And that does it for episode 12. Thank you so much to Eric D'Alessandro for joining me as today's guest on the podcast. Hey, you can follow him on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. His videos are hilarious at Eric D'Alessandro or at ericdalessandro.com. Check the website as soon as this pandemic's over. I'm sure he'll have some fresh tour dates for 2021. Hey, you could follow me at Andrew Kozak TV on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat for any questions or comments. Of course, if you're listening on all of the podcast apps, be sure to follow me there or on the YouTube video page at youtube.com/Andrew Kozak TV. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Stay tuned for episode 13.